Do you like movies and television? Would you like to learn more about the magic behind the movies and learn how they get from the minds of the creators to the screen? Do you consider yourself a bit of a film buff and would like to know more without going back to school? Then this is the show for you. Mincing Movie Magic is a broadcast designed to stimulate your intellect and explore the minds of screenwriters, producers, directors, and others behind the scenes who create the real magic we see on the screen. Each week, you can listen to screenwriter and producer Tom Blomquist and professional magician Scott Wells as they discuss film and the magic that goes into every production. From time to time, they welcome friends from the movie industry to give other points of view that brought their visions to life on screen. This is Mincing Movie Magic. Please welcome Hollywood writer, producer, and director Tom Blomquist, along with your host, Scott Wells.
And there we are. Hey, cheers. How are you, Tom?
I'm good, Scott. Here's to you.
And to you as well.
Good to see you. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow here in Charleston, South Carolina.
I am looking forward to that too. Just some nice weather, nice friends, and a nice weekend. And it's going to be a fun time where I get to actually entertain you again. It's been a couple of years since you last saw me at the Magic Castle. And this way I get to perform doing this big benefit for your daughter. Tell me again, what is it, just real briefly, if you want to just give a little pitch about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, always. Her nonprofit is called Going Places, and they are dedicated to providing, restoring the joy in the lives of disadvantaged students who are at or below the poverty line. So she goes to all the Title I. She was a former teacher in a Title I school and realized some of the needs are not served by the many good charities that provide food and clothes and health care. And so she provides a brand new custom bicycle, a helmet, and a lock to them, Halloween costumes for students who can't afford them and want to still feel like they're a part of the costume parade and all of that at school, as well as treats and thank yous to teachers and staff at these different schools. So it's quite a deal, and it's of course a huge fundraising challenge for her. And so Saturday night is her first large gala here in Charleston, and some notables will be there. Our Congresswoman Nancy Mace will be here, the mayor of Charleston, the mayor of Mount Pleasant, the adjacent community, and a lot of captains of industry. It's going to be quite a beautiful evening. You are
the outdoors. Yeah, outdoors under a tent.
Under a huge tent right on Patriots Point, which is right at the ocean, at the mouth of Charleston Harbor, where Fort Sumter is sitting right there. You can see it from the venue. It's going to be beautiful.
Where people get more information as far as if they do want to buy tickets for that, or at least maybe even to donate to such a worthy cause?
It's goingplacesnonprofit.org.
Going Places
nonprofit.org. And but she's been on the Steve Harvey Show, and Lester Holt and the ABC World News Tonight. They've all covered her bike reveals. I mean, it's really something when you see 450 bikes revealed under parachutes and the kids' eyes go wide. Most of these kids don't even get a Christmas present.
Yeah.
Many of them don't. And so to have someone give them a high quality custom bike that will last for them for a long time is an extraordinary event in their lives. And it's been wonderful. So it's really great. Thanks for bringing it up, and thanks for coming out here to MC and do magic and all of that. It's
I'm glad to be a part of it. I really feel special to help in this worthy cause. So again, for people who want to donate, if they can't even be there, Going Places nonprofit.org.
Yeah, there's all videos and all kinds of stuff about how she did this, and it's quite extraordinary. We're very proud of her.
Well, thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and having another glass of scotch with you in person.
Thank you.
As well.
Tomorrow night.
And celebrating your birthday later this weekend, perhaps, then, too.
It's my birthday. I'll be 21, and I'll be old enough to actually drink one of these.
So in the meantime, I won't tell people what you've been doing prior to that. So this is interesting because we have a guest then tonight who is someone who, in the past, we'd had Mike Leary on, who also went to Southern Illinois University with Tom and I. And tonight we got someone who was also an instructor who worked at SIU after we had left, and has been in the business. And I'm going to let Tom introduce him because he's a good friend of yours.
Well, I met him during annual trips that I would make back to campus when I was working in California on TV shows, and we hit it off right away. He's a fellow. At that point, he was a refugee from the industry, and I was soon to be one because I looked at what he was doing, teaching, and the life he was living, and I thought, boy, this is what I want to do. This is really great. And he and a couple of other professors who had been in the industry and were doing great work with students really got my attention. And Doug is one of the reasons I decided to go into teaching. And we worked on some programs together with the students coming out to Los Angeles and summer internships and what have you. And so we became friends during that period of time. He subsequently went to a couple of other universities, and we've stayed in touch. And it's really great to have him here because we've been talking about movies, which are mostly single camera or two camera kind of operations, as you've learned in past weeks, those of you that are movie fans. But this is different. This is multiple camera production.
Television.
Live or live on tape, they call it, but it's sitcoms.
Before a live audience, yeah.
Before a live audience or award shows. The Academy Awards, Doug has done those as an associate director. He's also been a director and a writer of sitcoms. So let's just get him in here. He'll tell us.
Yeah, let's bring him in.
And he's
all right,
he's got some great shows. There he is.
Hey guys.
Hello, Doug. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Nice to be here.
Glad you're here. So thank you very much. There is so much we have to ask you. And again, appreciate you being on the show because you do bring a little bit different aspect of this. And it gets confusing sometimes for people who are not in the industry when there are acronyms used, an AD being an assistant director, but an associate director is AD also. Maybe ADD myself, maybe ADD. So tell us exactly, how does an associate director differ from an assistant director?
An assistant director really runs the set in a motion picture, single camera motion picture TV show. The first assistant really runs the set. And on a multi-camera sitcom, that would be the job of the first stage manager. The first stage manager would be responsible for running the set. Trying to get a multi-camera program up and running is a rather complicated task, and it requires two sets of eyes and two sets of skills. So the associate director, the best analogy I could give you is the associate director is the co-pilot in an airplane. You have a pilot and a co-pilot. On a multi-camera show, the associate director's main function is to make sure that the director is free to pay attention to the performances and to the camera angles, because the associate director is taking care of all of the technical details, calling all the cues, getting all the shots ready, standing by with the performers, standing by with sound effects, lighting effects, you name it, special effects.
Right.
Anything technical that has to happen during that show is the purview of the associate director. That frees the director up to really pay attention to the camera angles, the shot sizes, the performance from the artists.
So, Doug, one thing I will jump in here. So, typically on a sitcom, you would have 4 cameras. Is I think is one of the standard. You've done the Academy Awards as well. How many cameras are likely to be live, hot, on a broadcast like that?
When I was doing the Oscars back in the late Jurassic, I don't know what, we're on the 90 something Oscars. I did the 51st, 52nd, and 54th. So that'll take you, 1979, 78, 79, 81. We had 22. I know that number has increased now.
But just for people to comprehend, 22 cameras pointed
at. And we had 22 cameras and about 16 videotape machines playing back clips.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have all those cameras.
Yes.
You've had a camera blocking rehearsal, which I know you'll talk a little bit about the processing stuff.
On the Oscars, that's a luxury, yeah.
But there's a script of some kind.
There is a script. There is a massive script, yes.
Where's camera 9 supposed to be at this moment? And that would be your job.
That would be my job.
When the director says ready 9, take 9, it has to be where it's supposed to be. Oh, here we go. So this is a sitcom.
This is a sitcom script. Yes, and that's just one page. The sitcom scripts, it's a little bit soft focus there. I'm not sure why, but a sitcom, like Golden Girls say, that is dialogue intensive, would have about 40 pages of dialogue. And this would be like an example of just one page. And you can see the cameras 1, 2, 3, and 4. Where
over to the side there, yeah.
Over to the side in the circles. The smaller numbers underneath the lines indicate which shot number that is. Every single shot is numbered. There's usually between 250 and 300 shots in a half-hour show. Next to the number is the description of what is in the shot, whether it's a close-up, medium, 2-shot, follow, whatever. And then the horizontal line indicates when that shot is to appear on the line, when it's to be taken on air. So there's a lot going on in a very short amount of time.
And you would be the one talking to the camera operators, telling them to move on to their next shot on their shot list. So
yes.
They know that, because you had a rehearsal or two, that at a certain point they got to move from here to here, and you're the one that says 3, go to shot 4, or whatever, and then it's ready when the director wants it.
Exactly. Now, if it's like a Golden Girls cheesecake scene where they're all sitting around the table eating cheesecake, and there's not a lot of camera movement, it gets a little simple. Then you could just start calling shot numbers. Ready on shot 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But when there's any kind of complicated maneuver, it's like ready on. If you're on camera 2 and you want to go to camera 3, say stand by camera 3, ready on camera 3, and take 3, go, and move. And it's just like, and it can get hectic. It can get hectic.
Well, whenever people are, you're talking to the cameraman, the director is talking then to people also. I assume you're in the control booth with the rest of the people, right?
Yes. In a perfect world, the director doesn't have to talk to anybody.
Oh.
And if he or she is talking to somebody in the control room, it's along the lines of giving a note to the production assistant saying, I think she could read that line better, or we had that better in the earlier show, or squeeze camera 1 a little bit, So, but when I used to do the Lawrence Welk show way back in the 70s,
you were 8 years old.
That was a well-oiled machine. And when I was the AD on the Lawrence Welk show, the director just sat back and just never had to say a word, because every single shot was exactly where it's supposed to be, the exact size it needed to be at the exact right time. I mean, when you've been doing the same show for 30 years, it's.
And the technical director, people should know, is the one pushing the buttons on the switcher.
Yes.
The TD, right?
So they know what the shot pattern is likely to be, and they know what the camera rehearsals in the previous shows have been like. So if the director's talking to somebody, it would be that person,
right? And the director will set a style, like on the Lawrence Welk show. The director, wonderful man and wonderful mentor for me, Jim Hobson. I learned so much from him. He literally took me off the street and gave me a job, taught me how to direct multiple camera variety. I knew how to do sitcom a little bit from my time at Desi Arnaz, but Jim taught me musical variety. But Jim's way of working was, he told the technical director, if I don't call the shot, or if I don't snap my fingers, you take it anyway when you're supposed to.
Oh.
And then I've worked, because there was that trust. They had been together for 20 years, and he trusted him completely. Then I've worked on sitcoms with directors who said, don't take the shot until I snap my fingers. And people have to understand that in a control room on a multi-camera show, snapping fingers is not rude. I mean, you snapping your fingers to somebody, that is standard operating procedure, and people shouldn't take that as a sign of rudeness. But I worked with one director who had kind of a wavy hand, and he would stick it in front of the TD's face and not quite snap, and the TD would think, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. And you take the shot and you go, I didn't snap yet, you know.
Like, what are you doing there?
You know,
the director of Dr. Phil and the Doctors is a friend of mine, and when she directs, she stands up and she has a pencil in her hand, and it's like she's conducting an orchestra.
Yeah.
1, 5, 7, and it's that is how she expresses, and everybody gets in that flow of her energy doing it, and it's wonderful. And so the when you're doing a sitcom, they're recording each of those cameras all the time anyway.
All the time,
right?
all the time. Yeah, even during the moves, the repositions. Yeah, I think
so. That switch feed that the director is directing is really kind of a work print. It'll get updated and changed or completely re-edited by the producers later anyway, correct?
Now, the trick as a sitcom director is to try to craft your switch feed, your line cut, in such a way that the producers can't come in behind you and recut the whole thing. You want to try to say, well, you know what, that coverage you're looking for from the camera, from camera 4, it isn't there. So you're going to have to go with the shot I gave you. So.
Well, that's the politics of it.
And that's kind of the tightrope that you walk. What I really want to say is one of the main differences between single camera and multi-camera is that multi-camera really depends on a great deal of experience in pre-visualization, because you have to be able, when you're rehearsing the show, because the first 3 days we rehearse, we don't have any cameras on set. The cameras aren't there until day 4. We only have 2 days on camera. We have a camera blocking day and then show day. So the first 3 days, you have to pre-visualize everything. So when you're blocking your scenes with the actors, the first thing you need to do is make sure the scene works as a scene. Don't think about cameras for the first couple of days. Just make sure the scene works organically as a scene. And then once you've got that, then you can figure out, then day 3, you're really starting to say, okay, at this point, do I want to be in over shoulders? Do I want to be in singles? How do I want to carry this person from point A to point B? Do I want to do a dump shot and have the one actor dump off and lead us to the second actor? How do I want to do all this? And that's really the 3rd day. I've worked with a couple of directors who were new to the craft and were writing their shots like day 1. And they were asking the actors, they'd say to the actor, okay, now at this point, get up from the desk and walk over to the sofa. And the actor's going, well, why am I doing that? Why would I do that? And the director would say, because I think you should. But in reality, the director was saying, because I already wrote that shot in, and that's what I want you to do. So,
So what you're saying, it sounds like you have the actors kind of walk through and block their show according to their script and how they feel that it should go. And then the cameramen and you as associate director are kind of saying, okay, as that goes, we probably should have the camera here or there because organically that's the best fit for the shot. You have to keep in mind your main allegiance. You have an allegiance to the script. Always, I've got a writer in the room here. You have your first allegiance is to the script. Honor your script. But right up there is the audience. And there's so many shows that regard the audience as just like that necessary evil. Well, we need them there for the reaction. We need them there. No, you need the audience. So you have to, when you're blocking the show, you have to think, what is the audience going to see, and is this going to work for them? Because they're essentially, you don't shoot out of sequence. You shoot it in chronological order like a stage play. So does this work for the actors? Does it work for the writers and the script? And also, does it work for the audience? And if you've got those 3 things percolating along really well, then you can start to fold in your pre-visualization of your shots and try to figure out, now, how can I complement what the actors are doing on stage so that I'm invisible as a director? My whole thing is the best directors, especially in multicam, are completely invisible and the audience is unaware that the show is being directed.
I don't want anything to call attention to the directing at all. I just want everything to service the story and the performance.
You kind of want to be, I guess, like a referee or an umpire on the football field or the field of play. Kind of, you're there to make sure what's happening and goes right, but you don't want to be seen or part of that as well.
I'm frozen here.
Yeah, you are. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
It's true, Scott, in movies and episodic television, dramatic television as well, is that you don't want the audience aware that there was an edit from this shot to this shot.
It shouldn't look weird or still.
Organically, it pulls you into the story. Anything that you become aware of is an impediment to the story and the actors' performances. And so what he's talking about, I imagine, like you mentioned Golden Girls. I know that was a show you worked on for a long time. You've got a hybrid cast, B. Arthur and Betty White and all these amazing actresses. You had quite a group there. They know what they're doing. I mean, I'm sure they would
season pros.
The script reading, and they're walking around with the scripts in their hands. They I'm sure were able to invent the physicality and the movements without the director having to tell them much.
Right. You just stay out of their way, let them do their thing. Exactly. Yeah.
Also, a long time ago, of course, you were talking about Lawrence Welk. I was thinking about Black and White, and then you mentioned Desilu Studios. And whenever I was in RT, the original cameras we had, I think, you click, just had like the three different
the turret lens. Yeah. But Desi, I was so blessed because I got to do an apprenticeship with Desi Arnaz my senior year of college at San Diego State, and he really taught me multi-camera sitcoms. So I thought, this is the guy that invented it. I mean, this is the guy who literally invented multi-camera. I think we've got a picture. This is I Love Lucy being shot in front of a studio audience. Desi Arnaz figured out how to shoot a situation comedy in front of a live studio audience that wasn't live. CBS wanted him to shoot the show live, like Jackie Gleason on The Honeymooners and all the other sitcoms and sketch shows and Milton Berle and all the other shows that were done live. And Desi had the foresight to say, no, we're going to shoot it on film, but nobody had ever done it. Nobody ever filmed a show, a multi-camera sitcom in front of a live studio audience. And he literally sat down with like cinematographer Carl Freund and others and figured out how to light it, how to do it, how to put marks on the floor for the camera crew to understand, oh, this is my third mark in scene one. Then after I'm on mark 3, I move to mark 4 with little pieces of tape that had numbers on, wow. And a camera coordinator says, okay, camera 2, break to mark 3, and go. And he literally figured it all out. And we still do it that way. I mean, the equipment has gotten way better. Here's a shot of Big Bang Theory, which is all done in high def digital. But essentially it's the exact same thing. You have the audience, you have the stage, you have the 4 cameras. And from a production standpoint, nothing has changed about the format except the equipment has gotten a lot better and more sophisticated. But the approach has not changed since Desi's day. And not only did Desi prove to be extremely correct with wanting to shoot it on film and not do it live, but he also said, our company, Desilu, will foot the bill for this extra expense because it was going to be much more expensive to shoot it on 35 millimeter film than if just did it live in front of an audience. CBS didn't understand why Desi would want a copy of it on film. It didn't make sense back in those days to the brain trust at CBS. But Desi understood the value of having that master film that in a vault somewhere, and he understood that people will want to see this more than one time. So not only did he create the medium of the multi-camera sitcom, he also created the rerun, because I've heard it said, I can't prove it, but I've heard it said over and over again that somewhere in the world, I Love Lucy has been playing ever since it first aired on TV
every day, someplace.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure.
Desi invented the rerun. So, way to
Because a
go,
lot of
Desi.
those old shows that we watch are kinescopes of whatever really old shows, and that's a half-assed recording thing off of a live.
A 16 millimeter film at the end of an Image Orthicon tube.
Yeah. Nothing like a beautiful 35 millimeter negative, and
Right.
the way they could just reconstitute that and clean them up and use them, and that's why those look so good today. It's amazing that he did that.
Tell me something about this picture.
This is cute. This is like every time you work on a show. Tom's done this, I'm sure, with the shows he's worked on. Almost all of us who've been on a show for any length of time have worked with actors who were really just talented young people getting their first start, who later went on to bigger and better things. And this is a still from Empty Nest, which was a spinoff of Golden Girls, with Richard Mulligan and a very, very young Maya Bialik, who plays a little girl who comes to her pediatrician saying, "I think my nose is too big. I want a nose job." And he's trying to convince a 13-year-old girl that you're beautiful just the way you are. You don't need a nose job. And of course, Maya went on to have her own hit sitcom, Blossom, and then went on to college and became a not a nuclear scientist, but a neuroscientist.
Neuroscientist, yeah.
And then, of course, all those years on The Big Bang Theory, playing Amy Farrah Fowler.
And now has her own show.
Cat has her own show, but here she is, 13 years old, as a little girl who wants to get a nose job because she's self-conscious about the size of her nose. This is a shot from Empty Nest. This is the second pilot that we shot. Empty Nest actually had two pilots. The first one was what's called a backdoor pilot, and it was written as an episode of The Golden Girls. It's where they try to sneak a spinoff show in through the back door.
What does that mean?
It's not an official pilot on its own. It's an episode of another show. But
it's a way to save money, for one thing.
It's a way to save money. It's a way to hedge your bets. So it's not. We're not going out and making a pilot episode and investing all this time and energy in a pilot episode. We're shooting a pilot episode, but we're going to air it as an episode of The Golden Girls and see how it goes.
Oh, in the same time slot. Yeah,
gotcha. With the Golden. So
it's a Golden Girls episode.
You got the other shot with Rita Moreno. Yes, this was the original pilot of Empty Nest, the backdoor pilot, with Paul Dooley and Rita Moreno as the next door neighbors of the Golden Girls. And this is what aired as an episode of the Golden Girls. And of course, the Golden Girls were all in the episode because it was an episode of Golden Girls. But the bulk of the airtime was given to these two people as empty nesters who lived next door to the Golden Girls and the problems they faced with their empty nest. And it was not well received at all. It did not do anything. And Rita Moreno had a miserable time shooting this thing. She has gone on record as saying it was a terrible experience for her, and she just didn't like it, and she didn't like the whole way it was being done, and she just wasn't happy with it. And this was Paul Dooley with the actor David Leisure. David Leisure played the wacky next door neighbor. In the original backdoor pilot, he was a test pilot. And now in the second pilot, he wound up working on a cruise ship, but he is the only cast member who survived. All of the starring cast members, Rita Moreno, Paul Dooley, everybody else, were let go and recast. And the wacky neighbor next door is the only actor who survived the backdoor pilot into pilot number 2.
Was that because of tests or something, or why was it that it worked out that way?
They screened it for the network, and the reaction was just like, nope, sorry. So what they discovered was they needed to give themselves a chance to tell more stories. So the first thing they did was they killed off the wife character. So bye-bye Rita Moreno. We're going to make the empty nester a widower. So now he could go on dates and comedy will ensue. So by making him single and not married, they gave themselves a lot more stories to tell. And then they had 3 grown daughters who had moved out. One daughter we never saw until like season 5. She was kind of like the emergency standby daughter. They had telephone conversations with her, but you never saw her. She was
emergency standby daughter. I like that.
Yeah, Norm's. Well, it turns out we needed her because when Christy McNichol left the show, we brought her in. But she was kind of like Norm's wife on Cheers, or Niles Crane's wife on Frasier. We never saw her. But in season 1, the writers painted themselves into a corner because they ran out of reasons for these 2 grown daughters to drop by Dad's empty nest house to interact with their father. Yeah. They can only come by with casserole so many times, just checking on your dad. How you doing? How you doing? We brought you a casserole. Only do that so many times. So they had to write a special episode where both daughters have financial collapses and have to move back in with their father. So the empty nest was never empty. It was full from season 1 all the way through season 7. It was never an empty nest, except in title only.
Title only. Yeah.
So once they moved the 2 daughters back in, and of course the daughters would bicker, and one was a real girly girl, prissy girly girl, and the other one was a tomboy cop who was always in danger. That was Chris McNichol. So we had a lot to work with for the writers there. So.
Well, I think
but some of those. If you notice in the 2 shots from the backdoor pilot to the second pilot, the furniture and the set never changed. Yeah, the living room, the kitchen, the set is exactly the same. Nothing ever changed except the actors. The kitchen set there is the same in the first pilot as the second pilot. And I think I have a shot with Richard and the 2 girls at the table, and you can see the kitchen is exactly the same. Nothing changed except the actors. All the actors changed, but the set remained the same. So.
It's interesting. That was one of my son just said. I remember the show. Yeah, he was born back in '78. So this would have. When was Golden Girls and Empty Nest?
Golden Girls, I think, came on the air in '85, I believe, and Empty Nest went on the air in '88.
And ran for how many years?
7 years.
Okay.
7 years.
What was one of your favorite shows that you worked with?
Well, I loved Empty Nest. I absolutely loved Empty Nest. I loved NEWHART. I did the first year of NEWHART in the inn in Vermont with Larry Darrell. Matter of fact, I did the episode that introduced Larry Darrell and Darrell to the world. Their very first appearance on and my stage manager, who went on to become a very successful producer in his own right, Randy Cordray. He went on to produce Dharma and Greg and Still Standing in The Office. He was my first stage manager who worked directly with me on that show. He didn't get Larry Darrell and Darrell. He said these guys have Southern accents and they come out of the woods and they're weird, And I said, yeah, but they're funny.
They were funny. They were very funny.
But they were just scheduled to do just a 1 episode. That was just a 1 episode shot. And I told Randy, I said, mark my words, kid, these guys are going to come back for another episode before the season's out. And sure enough, before the season was over, they came back for a second episode. And then in season 2, they became recurring characters, like 7 out of 13. And then by season 3, they were regular cast members in every episode. So.
Darrell and my other brother, Darrell. Yeah.
I'm Larry. That's my brother, Darrell. That's my other brother, Darrell. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the audience, of course, just fell out of their seats.
Let me ask you about the technical and the stressful parts of being an associate director. And I want to hear more about your directing as well, obviously. But was there one challenge in particular, whether it was a special or an episode or a series, that was particularly grueling and difficult for whatever reason? And even if you don't want to name the show or the why.
Oh, that's okay. No, I can tell. It's for pure stress, just from a pure stress standpoint. The Oscars has got to be, you're on the air live to the world.
To the world, yeah.
To the world. You've got everybody, and it's a 3.5 hour show. and everybody who's anybody in Hollywood is out there in the room, and all of the network vice presidents in charge of hoo-ha are sitting behind you in the trailer, beating you on the shoulder, going, "What's taking so long? Why isn't the show shorter?" You know. So just from it, and you got between 25 and 30 cameras, and it looks like you're sitting in front of an appliance store window, you know, with all these TV sets in front of you, and you've got 15 different playback machines, and you've got graphics machines, and you're trying to cue all these things live for the world.
Was that Marty Pacetta directing those? Who was
Marty
Pacetta?
Yes,
Marty Pacetta.
yes. Matter of fact, he used to hit me on the shoulder and go, "Take a note, take a note, take a note." So on show day, not during the actual show, but on show day, I used to ride a motorcycle to work all the time, and I had some body armor that I wear under. If I wanted to wear like a summer weight jacket, I wore body armor. So I put my body armor on under my tuxedo, and he went, "Take a note." He went, "Ow!"
That's good.
That's great. So the cameras and the live nature of it, and the scrutiny was the source of that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, just because you're broadcasting absolutely live to the world. There's no do-overs. There's no take-backs. There's no take two if you screw up.
Is there a second delay or something?
There didn't used to be. There is now.
Okay.
There didn't used to be, because people wouldn't go out and drop the F-bomb when they won an award.
Now they do.
On a bad night, you'd have Sashi and Littlefeather accepting for Brando or something.
Exactly.
Or in David Niven's case, a streaker. But that was,
Was that set up, by the way, do you think?
No, but the streaker was not a setup, but it was at a time when everybody was streaking.
Right.
And the producers
His line was so perfect.
Yeah, the producers had given everybody who appeared at the podium, all the presenters, a list of potential ad libs in case a streaker showed up. So David Niven, I forget what his ad lib was, but it was just perfect. I mean, it was just and David Niven just rolls off one of those lines.
It was about his shortcomings.
Something,
yeah,
something like that, yeah.
And what about and you said Golden Girls and Empty Nest were faves. What about some of the other shows you've worked on? She's the Sheriff with Suzanne Summers.
Oh, don't go there.
No?
Definitely not on my list of favorite shows.
Oh.
Okay.
I've disappeared on you.
Okay.
There we go, I'm back. Yeah, see, you say She's the Sheriff, and I went into a black hole.
Can you explain why? I mean, nature. Was it the concept? Was it the producing entity? Was it
working with a screenwriter like you?
Frictions. What kind of things?
The scripts were not good. Some of these guys had come from Laverne and Shirley, so it was all real broad physical humor. There was a minuscule budget. We had a very small budget. And it was just, I don't want to speak disparagingly of anybody, but some of the actors had some issues with their image, and asked me, as the director, can you make it funny but still not hurt my image or make me look foolish on camera? I said, well, have you read the script? That's going to be hard to do.
You signed up for it.
But the very first episode that I got involved chimpanzees. So it's Suzanne Summers and chimpanzees. So you can see how the high quality of the writing here.
There we go. It went down from there.
And they sent me the script, of course, ahead of time for my pre-prep. They sent me a floor plan of a set design so I could work on my prep. And then I started calling the producers. I said, now, these chimps, are they a self-contained unit? Have, like Bobby Barasini's orangutans, whatever, are these chimps used to working together? Do they, are they cool with each other? And they went, no, we hired 5 different chimps with 5 different trainers. Oh, and I went, oh, you do know that chimps are territorial. and hierarchical. There's someone's going to want to be the alpha male among these chimps, and it could get ugly and it could get dangerous. And you put your actors right in between all the chimps. And I said, now, the behaviors the chimps are doing, are these things, have you talked to the trainers? Are these things the chimps are used to doing and can do easily? And they said, no, we just wrote what we thought was funny and we hope we get it. Yeah. So,
and that's clearly irresponsible and dangerous. That's
very, very irresponsible, very dangerous.
They were like throwing them in for like improv, basically, and see what happens, basically. And
as Tom will tell you, as a director, on-set safety is
paramount.
You don't mess with that. You don't mess with that. Safety is always a major consideration on a set. And so in the course of these conversations, I said, I'm getting the feeling that I wasn't your first choice as the director on this. They said, well, let's put it this way. You are the first one who actually said yes. And I was a young aspiring director. I was trying to make my bones as a director, so I couldn't be too picky. I said, well, who ahead of me, who said no? And they said, everybody. I said, every director in town turned us down, says, yeah, you're the only one that said yes. So.
Well, so Scott, one thing that's really important for people to understand, we're talking about safety. When you deal with movie animals, they're highly trained. They are trained to do one task. They, on a show I worked on that I was directing, I needed a river otter to go from here to here, grab the strap of somebody's knapsack, and then pull it away in the night. And that they trained, it was a Universal Stunt Show in Florida, and the guy trained the river otter for weeks to go from here to here at the very location where we were going to be shooting, so we could get the shot. And safety wasn't an issue, but it was getting the shot in a reasonable amount of time. It rained. It was horrible. The set blew away. We had to go to a different set indoors. And the otter freaked out because this wasn't what we practiced. And they're creatures of habit, and they can be trained. But whether it's a parrot or a dog or whatever, they know exactly what they're doing. So when talking about chimpanzees, holy God, that's very dangerous and very risky.
They're very strong and dangerous. They can be dangerous.
They can rip your face off. Yeah.
I worked on a show with had horses in it, and Hollywood movie horses. They're used to being on a set. They're used to hearing gunshots and the clapboard in their face, and nothing spooks them because they're used to it. The clanging, all the noises of a movie set. We were on a distant location, and the stunt guy gathered up horses from local farms and ranches to be horses in the show. And the lead actress gets on the horse, and there was something spooked it, and it reared up and threw her 15 or 20 feet on her back. And we're all standing there going, we just killed our actress. And I mean, it was terrifying. And you don't put a civilian horse in a situation like that unless they've been around it and they've been trained. So the chimpanzees, I can't believe their trainers even agreed to that. I don't care how much they're paying them. That's just crazy.
Yeah. So we got into rehearsal for the first day, just trying to get them to do their stuff. And after the end of the first day's rehearsal, I went up to the producers and said, because they said, how's it going? I said, it's not going well. I said, you need to cancel the audience this week, and we need to shoot this motion picture style single camera. We'll do it multi-camera, but we need to shoot it without an audience all day Thursday and all day Friday just to get a show in the can. And of course, their reaction was, who are you, you young snot-nosed punk director, to come into our office and tell us how to shoot our show and to cancel our audience? And my only answer was, I'm the guy who said yes, to the script.
Go find somebody else. You've obviously got a lot of no's.
And I said, tell you what, come down to the set, as a group, writer producers, what I call the barrel-o producers, because on a sitcom, most of the producer credits you see are not really producers. They're writers masquerading as producers. They're wannabe producers. I said, bring your barrel-o producers down to the set tomorrow and just watch a little bit of rehearsal. And if you think you can do it with the audience, we'll go with the audience. Well, they watched me rehearse this a bit, where all the chimp had to do was hand Suzanne Summers her hat as she was leaving. She's going out the door. There's a chimp sitting by the door. He hands her her hat. She says, thank you, realizes she's just said thank you to a chimp. Ha ha ha, that's funny. And then exits. It took us 45 minutes to get the chimp to hand Suzanne Summers a hat.
Just for that scene. Wow.
And I turned to the barrel-o producers and said, so guys, what do you think? And their faces, all the color had drained from their faces. And they said, that was the scariest thing we've ever seen in our lives. We'll cancel the audience immediately. You'll have your camera crew on Thursday morning.
Wow.
And so then we shot this thing, this piece of dreck with the chimps. And I had one actress, I won't mention her name, who said, I'm better from this side than that side. So whenever possible, can you block me stage left? I said, you mean among the 5 chimps, you want me to always make sure you're stage left? Yeah, if you could. So we shot this thing, and I spent the next few days cutting it together, and I'm looking at it, and the editor's looking at it. I'm going, is it as bad as I think it is? And the editor's going, yeah, it's pretty bad. And the producers came down and looked at it, and they were laughing and cheering and clapping and giving me high fives, going, Doug, this is much better than we ever thought it was going to be. And I went, well, the bar's pretty low, guys.
You had low expectations. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry I brought up She's the Sheriff.
That's okay.
Well, that leads to a question of who was it that you've worked with that's been one of your favorite actors and actresses as far as a celebrity, someone that's like, this person was just wonderful?
Richard Mulligan, without a doubt. Richard Mulligan, hands down.
Was he really as funny as he was on stage?
No. I mean,
okay.
No, but
he had good writers.
Talk about a sweet, talented, thoughtful human being. And just a delight to be with. Every day backstage at lunch we'd play hearts. We play hearts together every day. The last day of the show, he gave me the perfect hearts hand framed as a going away present. And then as we shook hands, he slipped me the Queen of Spades. I went, okay, you stuck me with the Queen one more time. But I cried my eyes out when a friend of mine from the show called, because I was working at SIU when he passed, and a friend of mine called me and said, Doug, I just want to tell you, because you're going to hear it on the news, and I want you to hear it from me first. And he said, we lost Richie today, and I just cried my eyes out.
Heart attack?
Cancer.
Cancer. Okay, so it was ongoing. He just hadn't told anybody about it, huh?
He didn't. No, he was very private. He didn't.
Wow.
Didn't let
Wow.
him, yeah.
Well, on the flip side of that, is there someone whose name you can't mention, or maybe you can, who you didn't like, and someone's like, I really don't enjoy working with that person?
That person on She's the Sheriff, I'm not too fond. I'm not too fond of.
The one who said, "Give me from this side."
Yeah. And another story is that we were. No, I can't tell you that one. That's because then you'll know who I'm talking about, and I can't tell you. But there have been a few over the course of the years. Not too many. Most of them have just been absolutely wonderful. I did a photo play awards. With Eric Estrada, and he won the photo play for like outstanding male actor for Chips. It was back in the day, and we didn't have much interaction, but his acceptance speech was like, well, it took you long enough to recognize how talented I am. So I thought, well, okay. It's about time you gave me an award.
Well, yeah, I think it's true of all of us that do these shows that, you meet some of the most wonderful, creative, generous, humble people.
Most of them are just wonderful.
And then there's others, the old saying, you never want to meet your favorite movie star. And it's not necessarily because they're a jerk, but because they're going to be different than the impression of like the Richard Mulligan question. You're like, he's not that guy. He's a quiet, nice, gentle. He's different than that maniac that he played so beautifully on those shows. And but people are often disappointed if the actor doesn't walk in and turn it on and be that caricature, for the fan.
Right.
And then there are those that are just crazy or evil or something, and chemically altered on a few occasions in my career. That.
Or the other thing I discovered, I'm sure, Tom, you've encountered this probably many times, people who can't handle success, especially actors. They're so used to rejection. They're so used to failure. They get comfortable. All their friends are rejected. They have their coffee klatch where they all say, I read for this. I didn't get that. I didn't get that. And, I was this close to getting this, but they cast somebody else. And, and then they get it.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
They don't have the support system in place to deal with success.
Yeah. And they're making tens of thousands, 50s of thousands of dollars a week, and they don't know how to handle that, and the adulation, and the pressure, and the scrutiny, and
suddenly everybody wants a piece of them, and they don't know how to handle it.
And so a lot of them will find, assisting aides to get them through the day, and
or they'll just be a jerk,
or they're just nuts. You have to be really centered to be in those jobs. For somebody to give you $50,000 a week or $100,000 a week, it's going to mess with your mind because nobody's worth that. And yet,
a year ago, you were sleeping on your roommate's couch, and now you've got a house in the Beverly Hills, and you don't.
I worked with an actor once who became so paranoid. I'll let you decide how the paranoia manifested, but. He wouldn't come out of his trailer because he was convinced the crew was trying to kill him by poisoning his oatmeal that he was having, and needed the police to come and test the oatmeal for arsenic or something. And he meant it. He wasn't like being insane. It's like you go out there and you say, "No, I'll take a taste." No, you're fine. Now the truth is, the crew might have been trying to kill him because he made their lives hell. By the way, a wonderful guy. I mean, a guy that I've had dinner with many times in coffee and like him very much. But under the pressure of week 12 or 15 out of 22 episodes, people lose perspective. They're exhausted. And in this case, he just lost all rational perspective and had to be kind of brought back to some grounding. And if I ran into him today, I welcome him and throw my arms around him. He's a wonderful guy. But at that moment, that intersection of his work, his personal issues, whatever, he actually was that paranoid. And, we tried to give him some days off so he could get some rest, all those things that you do, when you're scheduling these things. But it's hard for them, and therefore hard for guys like you or me or whoever, to get the work to the finish line.
Doug, I've got a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, good. I was going to say along these lines, I don't know if any of my former students are watching this right now, but they used to ask me what kind of things can I take, and I used to say, take some psych classes, and they always thought I was joking, and I'm not joking. I mean, I wish I had taken more psych classes because
there's one from right there. Nathan Stone took your classes at SIU.
There you go.
Love your stories.
Thank you, Nathan.
His dad was.
My perception of what a director is, of course, is actors and lights and cameras, and I had no idea that I was going to have to be dealing with the psyche of people or answering questions that just kind of came off the wall. I've had actors say, "Well, Doug, you're my director. What stock should I invest in my portfolio?" Didn't see that one coming.
Well, their dog is sick and they're upset, and that stuff happens, and then it affects their day, and then that affects everybody's day, and
then you become their father,
right? Or two actors have some sort of
tiff
dust up on the set, and you're trying to figure out what's this really about? Is it about the number of jokes, the number of lines, or how much screen time, or is there something else going on? So I didn't realize how much psychology is involved in directing television. I wish I had known ahead of time. I would have taken more.
Is that part of what you teach people in schools now? Which is another question I guess I was leading to, and that is, why did you decide to go from Hollywood to start to go into academia? And again, is that one of the things that you teach from some of your lessons? I wish I would have known then what I know now, kind of thing.
Well, just to be clear, I have retired from teaching as of 2017, so I'm now retired.
You still look like a young man, though. You look much younger than Tom. And Tom, well, that's really not saying much.
Thanks, thank you, Scott.
The corny but absolutely true answer to that, Scott, is I felt called. I felt it was like a calling from God to. I thought, I've got this experience, I've got the desire, I have knowledge. Why aren't I using it to try to help pay it forward to the next generation? So I was excited about teaching. I had my last day on Empty Nest, which was my last TV job, I was still a half an hour early because I couldn't wait to get to work. And I thought, am I going to have something that is that fulfilling for me when I leave Hollywood? And the answer was yes. Because I was always early to teaching as well. I couldn't wait to get to school, and I was always looking forward to it. And I tell you, when one of my students, reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I just want you to know I've got this job. I'm working here, and I'm applying things I learned in your class." Man, that just
look at this.
There you go. Right there's one.
Look at the caption right there.
Yeah, thank you, Lou. Thank you very much.
For 20 years.
Been a TV director for 20 years. Good for you. Good for you.
Isn't that neat?
Try to stay away from chimps, Lou. Try to stay away from chimps.
That's got to make you feel good to see something kind of like that,
It does. I used to teach this. I used to teach this sitcom class, and I would do it exactly like we would do it in Hollywood. We had a live studio audience. I was the only non-student involved. I would write it and direct it, and the students would be the crew, students would be the actors, and we do it from a studio audience. And the first time I did it, one of my lead actors went out to work in LA after graduation. And he said, he emailed me one day and he said, "I just want to let you know, a bunch of us went down to a taping of The Big Bang Theory last night, and we watched him do the show. And he said, everything they did was exactly the way you did it back at school. And he said, I just want you to know how much we appreciate that experience." And I'm like, wow. I mean, that brought tears to my eyes to read that email. It did.
I have a question about that. That was at Asbury College, right? They have a really nice
Asbury University, yeah.
Yeah, and a very nice sitcom program. How did the college students with a full schedule, and you get them for 3 hours once a week or whatever, how did you manage to do rehearsal, camera blocking, shooting on a college student schedule? How's that even possible? They all have different schedules.
It was tricky. It was tricky. I figured out on a 5-day week, if I'm working 5 days a week on a sitcom, how many hours of rehearsal do I have? How many hours is that? It's like, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 3 days a week, 36 hours. Okay. Now, how can I do that 3 hours at a time at night after dinner, twice a week? So I would break my days down into weeks, and we would rehearse twice a week for like 3 weeks at night. And then we'd have a 1-day Saturday, all day camera rehearsal on a Saturday. And then we would, sitcoms usually have a 5 o'clock show and a 7 o'clock show, or a 5 o'clock show and a 7:30 show, and they film both of them and they edit the two together. We would do a show on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights, the exact same show all 3 nights. Tuesday was basically just a dress rehearsal just to get the bugs out. And then we would film the show on Wednesday and then film the show again on Thursday. We'd intercut the Wednesday and Thursday shows together. I tried it on Friday and Saturday night the first year, and I said that's date night, and we didn't get enough people in the audience.
Yeah.
So I moved it to a weeknight, and we had standing room only audiences. We could only accommodate 125, but 125 people who were laughing and clapping can make a pretty good. We hung microphones over the audience just like they do. We recorded their laughter.
Wow.
We didn't use no fake laughter, no fake applause,
No canned applause.
Everything was real. As if a joke didn't collect, then it didn't collect. If a joke collected, you heard it collect. So.
Wow.
So basically, we took a day and made a week out of it. So two nights a week, 3 hours a night.
So it's a 6-hour class for their course credit.
Correct.
Instead of 1 6 hour, you broke it up into 2 3 hours. So
Right.
that makes sense.
And I would give the students. I said, you got 3 choices of crew position. Give me your top 3 choices. And then I put the jigsaw puzzle together because they would all say camera operator. They would all say, TD. They would all say stage manager. And I'd say, okay, come on, guys. I need some people like in wardrobe. I need people in set, or whatever, sound effects. So they would give me, and they would give me their 3 choices, and I would put that jigsaw puzzle together so that everybody got at least their first, second, or third choice.
And could they rotate in the course of a season? Where they would be boom up
No,
for a while, and then they would be on that. That'd be their job.
that'd be their job. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's really interesting. So you made the choice to go into teaching, and then you got the job at Southern Illinois, and you were there for how many years? 10?
6 years until I got fired. Yeah.
6. You were not fired. 6 years.
Well, let's put it this way: my contract was not renewed.
Your contract was not renewed, but the Illinois State Police then took you to the state line and threw you out of the
Don't ever darken our door again.
You wound up at a really good program at New York Oswego,
Right.
and
State University of New York.
SUNY Oswego, and you were there a long time. That's a great
4
program.
years. I was there 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Cold winters.
Cold winters, but then you were recruited down in Kentucky. So that's really great. And you finished out. Scott, he's writing his memoirs, just finished writing them. So he's working on publishing those. So I look forward to reading those.
Yes. The working title is Name Dropping: My Life in Hollywood Among Celebrities Who Won't Remember Me.
That's a good title.
It's a great title. And I know, these anecdotes are just the tip of the iceberg, all the different people you worked with. And,
in the book, I named names.
Yeah. Well, and but people just, Lawrence Welk and all these people are iconic.
Exactly.
Figures in American
Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz, all those. My goodness. Yeah.
Just amazing. So awesome. Just awesome.
Fantastic. Well, Doug, thanks very much. I appreciate it. This has been enlightening.
It's been fun. Thank you for inviting me to your party.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad you did.
Come back and tell some more stories.
Sure.
And if you want to hang out for just a few minutes later after we end the broadcast, if you want to chat for just a little bit more with Tommy for a minute, I'll take you out. I'll take you off. We'll bring you back on after we end the broadcast over here. But a lot of people had just a wonderful time. Another great episode. You're welcome. Thanks, Harriet. I'm glad that you had joined us, and a lot of people there who watched it live, and there are hundreds more who will watch this later. So
I know there are former students, a bunch of them from Southern Illinois alone, that are watching or will be watching. And they're going to be very happy to see you again.
Yep, there's Mike Leary. You're welcome, Gus.
Mike Leary.
Hi, Mike. Thank you.
Mike Leary. Good Lord. We can't get rid of him. He just keeps kind of stalking us.
Like a bad penny, right? I mentioned Russell Bruce, by the way, a little bit earlier. Russell is a friend of mine, and who is a magician who we used to work with Siegfried and Roy. He was a prop manager for them. And so he had mentioned something. He said that Larry, Daryl, and Daryl did a version of Siegfried, Roy, and Roy. And so
I worked with Siegfried and Roy in 1979 on a live series of specials for NBC called Live and in Person. And they were amazing. They came down. We did it at the Ambassador Auditorium. They came down the aisle on a motorcycle, went up a ramp, flew through the air, and made the motorcycle disappear and turn into a tiger. Live. I was like, wow, these guys are amazing. So,
they're the real deal. Yeah.
Real deal, yeah.
I went to their home one time, and where they actually keep all of their wild animals in the backyard and everything. It's a whole nother story, and different podcast, different night.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. The
Anyhow.
stories they tell, yeah.
That's right. So thanks again, and it's been great, and look forward to your memoirs. So thanks again, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
bet.
Doug. See you soon.
Okay. Bye.
And so that's been another great episode over there. Then, Tom, I appreciate you bringing in another wonderful guest. You have so many interesting friends, and the fact that he also has been working there at SIU, you know, where we were.
It's a wonderful circle that gets completed, and but it was a real honor meeting him as an alum to a guy currently teaching there. And as you can see, he just full of information and experience and stories and, you know, wisdom for the students, and they all benefited at all three of those universities. So,
well, just a few who were here were talking about how much they appreciated that the knowledge that he had given them, and it sounds like a lot of fatherly advice. I mean, that's the hallmark, I think, of a good teacher. You're not just imparting wisdom, but also you're there, kind of helping them with whatever personal problems they have, and kind of, you know.
You're a mentor. You're a mentor. Good teachers are not just teachers; they're mentors and counselors, advisors, and you know, when you've been doing this stuff for a while, you see traits that are helpful or not helpful to a career. You see potential in these students that they may not see themselves. You can disabuse them of ideas that their impressions they have that are not accurate, and guide them in the right direction. And you saw a few instances there of Doug's former students that are having fruitful careers, no doubt thanks to him. It's wonderful.
Exactly. And I want to thank you also for creating a wonderful daughter in Katie and getting this thing going for Going Places. There we go again, Going Places, nonprofit.org. For people to go and take a look at that, if you would please, just so this way you know what's going to be happening. If you can possibly give something, you know, again, you don't have to attend, but they're looking for donations there as well. So,
always. You bet. Thanks very much for that. And we have somebody interesting coming up next week, which I won't tell you about now, but we're working on it. It's going to be good.
I know it will be, and I'm looking forward. You will pick me up at the airport tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I will do that. Yes, sir.
Oh, you're not going to be sending an Uber or your wife or somebody?
It'll be me.
Okay. All right. So it's been wonderful. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night, 6.
Thank you.
Tom, thanks very much. So, for Mincing Movie Magic, be sure, by the way, if you would, to like this page, tell others about this. We're still trying to find still trying to find the demographic and try and find the market who really enjoys this. And I know if you guys are watching this tonight, you've enjoyed it. And this was, I believe, the 10th episode. And so we have 9 more before, and they're all excellent. They're really good. Go back and watch those. I highly recommend, if you would, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Texas Magician. I'm just a few short of what I need in order to monetize that, actually. So I need you to subscribe to that. That'd be very, very helpful. And thank you very much, Roger. I'm glad that you were here. Yes, it is always enjoyable. And so until next week, that was Tom Blomquist. This is Scotty out.
Thanks for being with us. Please join us again next time for Mincing Movie Magic.